Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are two actresses, Melora Hardin and Jordan Baker. Singer, director, actress Melora Hardin was born in Texas and raised in California. She went on to Sarah Lawrence College. And did you study drama there?
I did not study drama there. Yeah, I started as a professional actress here in Los Angeles when I was 6 years old.
Oh, you did?
I did, because I come from a family of actors. So
I was going to say, you had no chance, did you? Your really family was in show business.
Yeah, that's right. So I tugged on their sleeve long enough that they finally let me try it out. And I got the first thing. I guess they had some little plan that they would let me go on 10 auditions. If I didn't get anything, they'd ease me out of it. But I got the first thing I went on. So.
At 6 years old?
Yeah.
What was that?
It was a Peak toothpaste commercial.
Oh, so was your mother a kind of a pushy showbiz
No,
mother?
not at all. They both were, just wonderful. I mean, to be honest, I probably had the perfect family for being a child actor, because I really was taught about craft and professionalism, and that was really. I don't think they weren't living vicariously through me. They were just supporting me. So.
And your father?
And my father's Jerry Hardin. He's a well-known character actor, and he's wonderful. And
Have you ever worked together?
Well, we just worked together.
You did?
Yes, in this film that I just directed. It was a true family affair. My father was in it. My mother was in it. Returned to acting. She's really a manager and an acting teacher now. Has been for the last 30 years. So she returned to acting to be in my film. My husband starred in it. Also wrote it. Both our daughters were in it.
Is that right?
Lots of friends, yeah. So it was quite a family affair, yeah.
Oh, that's fabulous. We might as well talk about it.
We might as well,
now.
since
What's
it
the
came
name?
up, yeah. Well, we don't really have the exact title right now, but the working title is You, Y-O-U, and it's a love story about what if you lost your soulmate. That's, yeah. So.
And since you're talking about directing a film, you directed a stage play first. Isn't that what happened?
Yes, that's right. I directed Adria Tenner in her one-woman show, Strip Search.
And how do you do something like that, one-woman show? And this is your first directing time.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. I had seen, Adria and I met at a writing class, a sort of one-person show writing class many, many years ago. And we kind of had been following each other's careers and staying in touch. And she invited me, she was developing her show, and she's invited me to many different showcases of each piece that she had expanded on.
Oh yeah, she said she did them in little
She did,
pieces.
yes. And so I saw it over many incarnations. And the last incarnation that I saw it in, she had people kind of commenting. She had a very small audience of about 10 people. And she called me up afterwards and she said, Melora, I really loved your comments, and I really feel like I need a director like you, and would you be interested in directing my show?
Really?
And to be honest, I hadn't really thought of directing her show, but I said, I'd love to direct your show. And I'm a dancer, and there's dancing in it.
I was just going to say, how do you move her around? How do you make it interesting with one person? And I knew you were a dancer.
Yeah, and her show has movement in it, and I don't know. I just when I watched that very rough assembly of it, I think it sparked my imagination, and I had lots of ideas for the blocking of it, and just the emotional journey that she needed to take. I felt like I could really help her with that.
This is a new medium for you, because you've been in TV and film and everywhere else.
And I've done theater too. Yeah,
you've done theater. But you feel, it seems like from Friends to Golden Girls, the TV is your medium, because you've done Monk.
Well, my dad was in Golden Girls. That wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
Yeah. That was me.
Thought maybe you were a child.
But it was another Hardin, yeah. But I did, as a child, do like Love Boat and Quincy and Different Strokes and all those ones.
Do you feel more comfortable in television?
You know, I love being on stage. I mean, I did a play with Athol Fugard that he directed called My Children, My Africa, and that, I would say that's one of the highlights of my career. We were on stage for 3 hours. It was a 3-person play, and you know, just 5-page monologues. And because I'm a dancer, I really love using my whole body. I love knowing that I'm working in the framework of a full figure. Is a whole different thing than working in the framework of television and film. On stage, you got the full figure, and on film and television, right, you've got a lot of this.
But you're a singer too.
I'm a singer.
You're a singer too. You sing around town.
I do, and I'm actually right now developing a show with a wonderful director named Richard J. Alexander, who's directed everybody from Barbra Streisand to Bette Midler to Bernadette Peters.
Where do you sing? What kind of venues?
Well, I've sung at Genghis Cohen. I've sung at Largo. I've sung at the Mint.
Kind of small supper clubs.
Yeah, that's where I have sung. But this thing that I'm doing with Richard, we're going to be doing at the Catalina Bar and Grill, and then we're going to do an engagement in New York, probably 4 or 5 nights.
Has anyone ever asked you to sing in a film or on TV? Have you?
Yes, I have. I did a beautiful cameo in The Rocketeer, and I sang "Begin the Begin" and "When Your Lover Has Gone," and both those songs are on the soundtrack. And those are beautiful renditions. And I got to work with an incredible arranger from the '40s named Billy May, who and it was like an 80-piece orchestra, and it was just, I come out of an incredible clamshell. It's so romantic and beautiful. So that was stunning. And I also sang in a little show that was very short-lived called Man and Machine, which Mark Mothersbaugh, who's the lead singer from Devo, he did all the music for that. So I got to work with him, and I got to sing this fantastic version of Suspicious Minds, which was a very interesting thing to be singing.
He's very good. So tell us about The Office.
Yeah, The Office is amazing.
How do you do all these things? You have The Office and Monk. They're both on, right?
Right. Well, Monk happened before The Office, and I was always just a guest star on Monk, even though I recurred on it quite a few times. And then they have been very kind to let me come back on Monk because it's the same studio. You know, when you make a series deal, you're not really supposed to do that, but they will let you do it if it's within the same family.
And if you're nice and they like you.
Oh, maybe that helps. I don't know. Maybe that helps.
And you can sing and you can dance and you can act and you can direct.
I don't know. Yeah, I can. I can and I do, and that's great.
And The Office?
And The Office is fabulous. Up to this point, I've done something like 14 pilots in my career. So for me to finally land on something that actually is being watched, being liked, being loved,
talked about,
critically acclaimed, winning awards, you still have to pinch me sometimes. I mean, it was really like only 6 months ago that I kind of was like, okay, I guess it's a bona fide hit. But it took me a long time.
But when you started, I think one of the things, as far as your career went, you said that Absolute Power was a big break for you.
Absolute
Power. You talked about Athol Fugard, but
yes.
now let's talk about Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman.
Yes, well, that was just such an amazing experience. At that time, just walking on the set with those two amazing men, and I remember vividly, we kind of blocked through the scene, and I remember Clint saying, okay, well, I'm ready if you guys are, and Gene and I both looking at each other and going, yeah, we're ready, we're ready. And then we were outside the door. We enter in through these two doors, and we were supposed to have been out and kind of drinking, and and we're having this affair, and I remember just leaning into Gene. We're off camera, we're out to go, and we were both supposed to be a little tipsy, and I just sort of leaned my body into him, and I just felt him lean his body into mine, and I thought,
Did it work?
We're just soaring. Like I just knew that that was it. It was just the most beautiful cue of just connection, and it was such an amazing working experience. It really was.
Was Clint directing?
Clint directed, and he was also in it.
And what kind of directing did he do? Like what you do?
No, I think we're quite different actually, but he is definitely an inspiration and a mentor for me in my own mind, in the sense that I really consider I consider, Adria's play the first play that I'm directing, and I consider this movie that I just directed the first movie, not the only, not the best, doesn't have to be the everything,
but the first.
But the first, and I really plan on there being many more
They're stepping
in both
stones,
arenas. Yeah,
you think?
and I look at his career and I think, he's directed 30 some odd movies. Not all of them are anything to be even really wondered or pondered about, but then he wins Academy Awards and makes these amazing movies. So I just think that's a really important lesson as an artist, that you are able to give yourself the freedom and the permission to fail, because otherwise you can't make anything great if you can't fail.
Well, but we don't see the failures.
Well,
we don't see them ourselves. You may be feeling them within yourself, but I think the audience, the public, usually doesn't see them.
Sure. No, I think that's true. I agree, but I'm just saying it's kind of an inward.
Yeah, that's what I
an
mean.
inward
It's
permission.
helping you
Yes.
get along. What
Yes.
about thank you for smoking? I love that.
Oh, thank you. It was like a 2-second thing. It was really.
But Aaron
it was
Eckhart is so great. Were you actually on the set with him?
Yeah, my scene was with him, and it was sort of a strange way that all happened. The casting director kind of asked me to do it as a favor, so I did, and it was a very little tiny thing. But it was a great movie that got lots of attention. So it's been a wonderful thing to be a part of it.
So, what are we going to see you doing? Are you going to continue on TV? You're going to continue directing? You've got to edit this new film, though.
Right, I'm editing it right now. I've just done my first cut, so I'm working on my second cut right now.
Did you cast it?
Yeah, well, most of it
was your family.
Well, a lot of it is my family, but yes, I did have to cast. I cast it with some friends. It was wonderful actors.
As a director, you had to cast it?
Yeah. My friend Brenda Strong from Desperate Housewives is in it. Jolie Fisher, Amy Peets from Caroline in the City, Don Michael Paul, who's a director now, really more than an actor, but he's in it, and he was my first boyfriend.
Oh.
Believe it or not, for 5 years when from the time I was 17 until I was. So he was my first love really.
So he was an actor. You married an actor.
I married an actor, writer. Yes, he used to be a lawyer.
Oh, he did. Oh, he
but I'll let him tell you that story when he comes to.
All right, we'll wait for that.
Yeah.
And when do you have time to hang out with your 2 little kids and cook and take care of a family?
I have a lot of creative energy, and I don't know. I'm one of those people that I felt like having children sort of put a turbocharge in my jets. It really didn't slow me down at all. It gave me more fuel than ever.
We're so happy you came in today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you. And good luck.
It's really nice to meet you. Thank you.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with Jordan Baker. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Actress Jordan Baker was born in New York and raised in Southern California, where she went to Berkeley Hall and Taft High School. She went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, earned a Bachelor of Arts from Smith College, and an MFA from Rutgers. You've seen her in major motion pictures, TV movies, sitcoms, but I love the opening line of her bio. I think it's written by Stuart Rowlands. Tall, beautiful, and ferociously talented, Jordan Baker has scored rave reviews on both coasts. And I saw you on the stage, and you were tall and beautiful.
Yes, I'm very tall. I didn't know that until I did that one job. People used to come up and say, I didn't realize you were tall until you went through Tall Women.
But I love the way he wrote that intro, and I went, this is great, ferociously talented. I love that word.
I have nothing to do with it. I called about that. I called my agent. I said, can we say this? He goes, you just go away now and let us do what we do. I said, okay.
Didn't that tall part of your life take a toll on something that you wanted to do early on?
I'll tell you, when I was studying with William Esper, the acting teacher in New York, I was at Rutgers, he was head of the program there, and one of the final things that he said to me when I was leaving school was, your height will be your cross to bear.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I understood. And when I came out here, actually, I don't find it so much in theater, but in television and film, being smaller is actually kind of important for the frame. And so the men are much smaller, so it is an issue. It's actually an issue. I used to carry a list early on in my career of tall men that I knew who could act. So I walked out, if you can find them, this might work.
We can stand next to each other, or we have to put a box in front of me so I can kneel down.
Exactly right.
But didn't you want to be a ballerina?
I started out as a dancer. I was trained here in Los Angeles, and
did you go to a ballet school here?
I did. There was so long ago now, I'm trying to remember. There was a school in Beverly Hills where I went, Beverly Hills Academy of Dance Arts, I think. Bert Preval, I studied with over in the Valley for a bit. And he was the teacher, actually, that told my parents that I shouldn't go to college, that my dance years would be short, so I should actually not go to college right away. I should go back to New York and study at American Ballet Theater.
And you did?
I was sent to New York right out of high school. I was in this big studio at American Ballet Theater, and I was very tall, and the men would see me coming and not want to catch me. And I think I got it within about 6 months that I was too tall for the corps, and I was not talented enough to be a soloist.
That's the thing.
This is not going to work.
The corps. Right.
Yeah, they're about 5'4", 5'5", maybe 5'6" now, I don't know.
You're really not that tall. How tall are you?
I'm 5'11".
Oh, you're a good model. Good
almost
model,
there,
right?
almost there.
When did you decide actually then to be an actress instead of a dancer?
It was, I was actually here. I just graduated from high school, and believe it or not, the Pasadena Playhouse at that time had a connection with the American Academy of Dramatic Arts out of New York, and they had a summer program for 6 weeks, and my mother enrolled me. And dancers didn't talk, so I was very shy, and I think she thought that it would just sort of bring me out a little bit.
So you were at the Pasadena Playhouse?
Yeah, at that time, the Pasadena Playhouse, what I learned now, was actually boarded over, and we were actually a little farther over in another building in some park where they were that was the Pasadena Playhouse at that time.
But you're doing a play there now, too.
I said to them when I got there and I started meeting everybody, and so I said, I started here, believe it or not. This is where I started, yeah.
You're doing Defiance by John Patrick Shanley?
Shanley, yes. It's the second play in his trilogy, which began with Doubt.
Oh, right.
We're all waiting to hear what the third play will be and what the D title will be. Maybe he'll shock us all. It'll start with a B.
He hasn't written it yet?
Not that I know of, but I'm sure he's at work on it.
And you're on stage with your husband.
For the first time.
Is that right?
Yeah. My husband and I did an episode of Frasier. We are actually the grandparents to Roz's baby. We had they built us these very big noses, and that was the joke. She was horrified that her child would be born with a big nose. It's the only time that we actually worked together. And when we auditioned for this play, they did not know that we were married.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's our understanding. I had
How'd you do that?
I came in the morning to audition with other people, and he was
for your husband's
for the
role?
husbands, the other men, and then my husband was called at 3:30 in the afternoon. So after I finished auditioning, I walked out. And I said to Michael, he said, the other men didn't show up, so you should just go on home. So I said, my husband's coming in a couple of hours, and we've never worked together. Would it be possible to?
Really?
He said, yeah. You want to hang out? Go to the coffee shop and come back. So
that's Kevin Kilner.
Yeah, and we read together. We also read. He read with other women. I read with other guys. And at the end of the day, Andy Robinson, the director, said, I'm going to go this way. And I think that's when Michael Donovan said, well, by the way, they just also happen to be married, which could have worked against us, actually. But,
that's what I wondered. Is it difficult, though, with the way you have to talk to him? He's such a bad, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy.
Oh, you said it. I'm going to let him know. Yeah, that's for the guy who's morally off track.
Yeah, I mean, he is a good guy, he's a bad guy, he's so stiff, he's so ungiving,
and
unforgiving.
That's his journey to the end of the play, is that she has to sort of get him there. Several people do, but
you do it. Mm-hmm. My husband thought you were fabulous.
Thank you. It's very sweet.
He said, "Oh, she's so good."
But it's a wonderful role. It's a wonderful role.
Is it for you? Do you feel?
Yeah. It's a. When you're a woman over a certain age, when you get over 40, you don't get those roles. They don't really come. So the idea that he wrote such a strong, intelligent woman with a great sense of humor.
But you're the only woman on stage.
That's not unusual for theater. When I started out, actually, one of my complaints when I got out of college, one of the first things they do is they send you on the road for a couple of years to do theater at regionals. And so I was working in Philadelphia and Arizona, and I'd always be the only woman with 6 guys. And they'd go off and play poker at the end of the evening, and it was alone. You're alone on the road all the time. So I stopped doing it.
But you weren't married to any of those guys then.
No.
This time you're married. So when you look at him, are you looking at him
as Kevin?
Are you looking at him? Yeah, you can't look at him as Kevin,
well,
can you?
No, obviously there's a split screen there, isn't there? No,
Does the
I see
director
him as the
make you?
character because we each take on a certain energy. So yeah, he's that guy. Kevin is a completely different person off the stage. So all I know is that there's a framework there that I know is my husband. But the working process was great.
Was it?
It was terrific.
Did you
we
work
did
at
great
home?
together. It was very unusual. During this process, my father passed away early on in the rehearsal process. So we had started very intensely together, and then I had to deal with some family issues. So it was really mostly just in the rehearsal room, and then occasionally we'd be lying in bed together at night, and I'd say, he'd say to me, "What do you mean when you say that line?"
Does he?
Like
Oh, he
that.
was thinking about
so
it?
conversations would come up about where are you headed with that, or we would definitely run lines with each other. He had do a lot of that together in the car.
But he has a different look. Or does Kevin look like that all the
his
time?
hair off. I don't even recognize. He was like bald.
Yeah, he doesn't look
big.
like
He has
that.
a lot of hair usually, a lot of
Does
big
he?
red Irish hair. Yeah, so I see him like all he came to me was zipped.
Yeah, so when he comes home or when you go home, you see that character.
He's still
probably.
there. Yeah, I will tell you this: when you're doing a certain role, you do sort of carry it with you. You don't just leave it at the door. It's kind of interesting. So I said
That's
to him, I said, when he comes home, he kind of like barks at the cats a little bit. But yeah, he's still barking a little bit. And I sometimes
he's
I talk.
a cap. What is
sometimes
he?
Southern. I get because she's Southern. So
She's Southern.
So I roll a little Southern occasionally at home, and I go, oh, that's got to go.
To slow him down, or do you work? Do you work
It's just
on him
something
that
about
way?
the character I think that comes home.
Do you have to take diction lessons to learn that Southern drawl?
You know, that particular accent, I don't know where she came from. I totally channeled that one. I've played Southern before. I was on Broadway in Suddenly Last Summer with Elizabeth Ashley, and that was New Orleans. It's a very different accent, very different.
But do you get coached in those accents?
And this one I didn't ask, because the sound that came forward, we thought was right on the money. Actually, someone felt that I was really close to Fayetteville. They said North Carolina, they were from there, and they said, God, you're just spot on. So I said, well, that wasn't really what I was aiming for. This one, I heard her, and I don't know why, but she was sort of clear to me. She's educated, she's from Florida, but she's traveled all through the South and Texas. And
but she's held back, isn't she?
yeah, but she's very refined, and it's 71. So you have to remember, you know, White Glove Girls from 1971 in the South. Yeah, I would say more refined in that way.
But I like the way, like, you were like in your little flats and your little shoes, your little house, and you put your little
You liked
apron
my shoes.
but it was so in character. Did Shanley come out and work with you at all?
No, you know, he. It's my understanding that he's presently preparing to direct the film version of Doubt.
So he didn't.
I do know that there was a rewrite that he did, a very subtle rewrite of the script that was performed in New York. And so we hope that before we close that he'll come and take a look. I can't imagine he wouldn't want to come take a look at the changes. I know that when we were doing Three Tall Women, even after Edward had won the Pulitzer, he continued to make changes before publication. So
that's what I wanted to ask you about. I think that's a great story, talking about tall.
Yes.
You were in Edward Albee's Three Tall Women.
Yeah. Yeah,
and you have these great kind of family stories that you talked about with the people who were in them. Tell us some of that.
Marion and Myra and I don't know. Marion Seldes, Myra Carter played A, and Marion Seldes was
the
B.
three of you?
And I was C. Yeah. We, oh my God, we call it being in the trenches. I think we've been everywhere with each other, and we're still very close friends. And I met, Marion at the time was married to Garson Kanan, who has since passed, but we were also very close.
Did he get involved in it, Garson, at all?
Garson was with us in Woodstock, where we began in a barn, Three Rivers, which I believe Dylan is actually recorded in that barn. It's kind of a well-known for musicians.
Stock? Where'd you say?
Woodstock. Woodstock, yeah. And yeah, Garson. I remember the first night up in Woodstock, all of us, I was supposed to, the deal was there was no money. And I was given this big old broken down Cadillac, and my job was to pick up the two women and bring them to the rehearsals, and then I could have the car. That was the deal.
You were the youngest one?
Right, I was the young one. As they referred to me, I was always known as the young one.
The young one.
And so I was to pick them up for dinner, and they were going to have dinner at the director's house with Edward, everyone. And so I went to pick up, they said, Miss Seldes will be at this house on the side road, whatever. And I pull up, and there's Marion Seldes standing there with this man next to her. And I go up the stairs and she says, Jordan, darling, I would like you to meet my husband, Garson Kanan. Now, I knew I had read about him. I'd seen him when I was at Smith College. I was like, oh my God.
Garson
So I looked at
Kanin.
him and I think I sort of said, oh my God. And so Marion leans over to us and goes, darling, I think she knows who you are.
She's so fabulous on stage, isn't she?
Oh, she's an extraordinary
She
person.
walks out on stage and everyone
she's not
looks at her.
bird. She's a really kind of, she's from the, I guess I want to say the school of Marian Anderson, so it's very physical. It's modern dance in there, and I think even she'll say, she says, for years she's been made fun of for her exaggerations, but now, as time has passed, you're not going to find that. It's what makes her special.
It's so true.
It's what makes her special. You want to say maybe my height is my thing, but her thing is that odd bird and how she uses her hands, her gestures. She used to open that play every night, bent over with her hand. I mean, I remember that position. I don't know if anybody, I saw it every night for 800 performances, so, and I was like, where did that come from? Like, what is that?
But people
I learned
stare
from
at
her.
it, right? Because
Yeah,
when she's on stage, you stare at her.
Yeah, because it's extreme. And I don't
So
know.
extreme.
It's extreme. Yeah, exactly right. And then Myra, I learned, I could never have done Suddenly Last Summer without having watched Myra Carter night after night do those long monologues. It's where I learned to carve language, carve speeches. And by the time I got to the Williams piece, there was that 40-minute monologue that nobody wanted to touch. And so I was ready to attack that simply because of watching Myra Carter. She's an extraordinary actress.
But how
that
do you
most people don't know.
remember words for 40 minutes of words?
That's the easy part of the job.
That's the
easy
easy
part.
Oh my
It's so funny, people come back and say, how did you learn all those lines? And I go, oh, that's the no-brainer. That's just like, do that, learn that. But, it's really more about what your intention is.
When you get on stage, you mean?
What the intention is with the other person. You watch, you listen, and you can't but say what
Is that right?
You can't but say what they gave you. And there's no other way to say it. When we were looking at Defiance, I wasn't sure whether she should have an accent or not. And I went to the director, I wrote him an email after the first day, I said, I didn't audition with an accent. So I said, shall we go with something here? And he didn't respond, Andy, to that question. And then I went back, and as I started looking at the lines, some of those turns of phrases are just so Southern. She must have some lilt. There's some lilt to her language there. So you kind of know, you intuit that that's what's going to happen.
Oh, I'm so glad you came on and told us about all of that today. I know you do so many other things.
Yeah.
Are you more comfortable on the stage than on film? Which one are you more comfortable on?
Well, the place I love to be most is stage. I've stayed away for a while, but on stage, it really is the actor's medium. It's what Melora was talking about before about full body experience. It's that I have the ability to control my environment in a way, what my props are. You're going to get to see every little thing that I do. On film, you're really coming into someone else's process, a director's process. In television in particular, where it's very fast work, you really must, they tell you right away, and then you try to do the best you can, and it's, smaller, it's really what you can get up into here.
Exactly.
And so yeah, for stage, for an actor, that's the animal.
For our tall girl. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely meeting you.
And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. Bye.
Bye.